Welcome to another broadcast today for the Goon Intelligence Sports Podcast Show. Today we're going to be talking about the breaking news of Jameis Winston signing with the New Orleans Saints. We're going to go into the numbers for Jameis Winston. We're going to discuss how this could potentially help the Saints. And we're also going to discuss how it could potentially harm the Saints. We're going to discuss how I feel about the move. So let's get right into it. My opinion on the move is that it's not a good one. Now, you may say, Goon, why do you feel this way? Simply because I believe Jameis Winston has shown us the quarterback that he is and that he will be. They say, Goon, he's only a backup. He's only in town for 1 year. That 1 year deal is just so he can get a raise and become the starting quarterback once Drew retires. Drew has come out and said that this is his last season. Sean Payton echoed what Drew Brees said, that this is his last season. The Saints will be back in the market next season for a quarterback. Jameis Winston has the potential to become the Saints starter. Now, with that being said, we've seen what Jameis Winston has done. We got to see it up close. Being that he was in the division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we saw him twice a year. And what we have to realize and understand is that we have to start trusting our eyes. We have to go by what we see. We don't have to do any what ifs with Jameis Winston. We don't have to say what he can be. We don't know. I don't know if he can improve. By the same token, I don't know. But what I do know is that Jameis Winston threw for 5,000 yards last season. What I do know is Jameis Winston threw for 30 touchdowns last season. But what I also know is Jameis Winston also turned the ball over through 30 interceptions. 30. No quarterback in the history of the NFL has ever thrown more interceptions than Jameis Winston did in the 2019 season. This is just last year. This wasn't 2018, wasn't 2017, wasn't 2016. We do not have to dig far into our memory bank to find out or see what Jameis Winston did just last season. We all understand what it takes to be a quarterback in the league. Not from the perspective that we may have played the game, but we know what we see. We've seen others succeed, and we say that's what it takes to be a quarterback in the NFL. Right now, that is Tom Brady with 6 championships. That what it takes to be a quarterback in the league is Patrick Mahomes right now. Tampa Bay signing Tom Brady has already put themselves in the Super Bowl discussion with one signing. Nevertheless, in the first round, they took Tristan Wirfs to shore up their offensive line, a rookie, right? So rookies can come in and make immediate impacts, a la Practice Queen, but we're going to save that for another day. So if Tom Brady signing makes Tampa Bay a Super Bowl contender, wouldn't you say that's addition by subtraction? Wouldn't you say that Tom Brady, we know he's a better quarterback than Jameis? Wouldn't we say that taking Jameis away and putting in time just increases our success rate. We don't even have to do anything to the rest of the team. Because offensively, we know Jameis was playing with Pro Bowl wide receivers. Mike Evans, Charles Godwin. We know that he threw for 5,000 yards throwing to those same receivers. We know he threw 30 touchdowns throwing with those same receivers. So how is it and why is it that he turned the ball over so much with those same wide receivers? Was it the offensive line? No, it couldn't be. It couldn't be. He was succeeding. He was throwing for 5,000 yards with that same offensive line and 30 touchdowns with that same offensive line. Was it the receivers? Couldn't be. He was succeeding. He was throwing for 5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns with those same receivers. So how is it that he threw so many interceptions? It's because he did not have the mental of an NFL quarterback. He does not have the understanding of an NFL quarterback. And 90% of the game is played with the brain. We have to understand that when we make comparisons between players, we have to add context. Plain and simple. Because context matters. Okay? Context matters. And with that being said, I want to dive into some of these numbers because I've been seeing a lot of comparisons between the first 5 years of Jameis Winston's career and Peyton Manning's. Now, we know how Peyton Manning's career has turned out. That story is already written. We don't know how Jameis Winston's career is going to turn out. We know so far that it hasn't been good. I don't think any fan of any team, any head coach, any offensive coordinator likes their quarterbacks to turn over the ball at an alarming rate. So I'm going to say that they know Jameis needs improvement. We all know Jameis needs improvement. But I want to get into some of these numbers because I think it is very irresponsible for people to compare Peyton to Jameis. Very irresponsible. All situations are not the same. We know that. We get that. So let's dive into some of these numbers. Let's dive into some of these numbers. On this spreadsheet that I have in front of me, it compares Jameis Winston to Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, and Phillip Rivers through their first 3 seasons. And it reads, Jameis Winston's career passing yards through his first 3 seasons is 11,636 yards. It's a lot of yards, y'all. It's a lot of yards. He has career passing TDs through his 3rd season at 69. Tom Brady, through his first 3 seasons, only has 6 career passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns through his first 3 seasons. Peyton Manning has 7,874 yards through his first 3 seasons, 52 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers only had 128 career passing yards through 3 seasons. His first 3 seasons, he had 0 career passing touchdown. Drew Brees was at 3,505 yards, 18 career passing touchdowns. Ben Roethlisberger was at 5,000 yards, 5,006 yards to be exact, 34 touchdowns. Eli Manning had only threw for 899 yards with 3 touchdowns. And Phillip Rivers comes in at 33 yards and 1 touchdown through his first 3 seasons. So what we see is Jameis has Hall of Fame numbers through his first 3 seasons. We see that. We know that the cupboard isn't bare, so to speak. We know there is talent there. There's nothing wrong with his arm. But what we don't know is that he's playing blind. We do not have any idea at this point. We see him squinting. We see him on the sideline squinting, but we have no idea just how bad it is. Right? So let's go deeper into the numbers. Let's go deeper. Because now we've already established that Jameis is talented. But let's go deeper into the numbers. Let's go into the Peyton Manning and Jameis Winston comparisons. Peyton Manning through his first 3 seasons, well, 4. We're going to use 4. We're going to go 1998 to 2002 because that's what this comparison is doing. We're going the first 4 seasons. Peyton Manning had played 80 games. He had a record of 42-38. He had 1,749 completions, 2,817 attempts. His completion percentage was at 62.1%. His yards thrown was 20,618. He had 138 touchdowns. He had a QB rate of 85.9. He had a long passing rate of 86 yards. He had 100 interceptions and had been sacked 108 times. Jameis in between 2015 and 2019. And these projections are his season had not been completed yet when these projections were made for Jameis in the 2019 year. He had already played 71 games. Jameis, we know, has missed a couple of games due to his immaturity with the Uber driver. I'm not going to get into that because he is a young man and we all make mistakes. But I just want to keep it merely on football. So we have Jameis playing 71 games. Jameis' QB record at the time is 28 wins, 41 losses. He has a completion of 1,550 completions, 2,524 attempts. His completion percentage is 61.4%. His yards is 19,536. He has 119 touchdowns. He has an 87 in his QB rate. He has a long of 71 yards. He's been sacked 168 times in his career thus far. So what does that tell us about his totals? It tells us that he's on par with Peyton through his first 5 seasons. And he's playing with 9 less games. It shows us that in some categories, he's better than Peyton. QB rate for Peyton is 85.9. Jameis Winston is 87. It's not by much, though. We see that he has less TDs. And we see with 9 less games, he's thrown 86 picks. Peyton Manning threw 100 picks. But I want you to keep in mind that Jameis has played less games. So let's go into per game from 1998 for Peyton to 2002, and Jameis from 2015 to 2019. Per game, this is. Jameis has thrown for more yards per game. Peyton Manning is at 257. Jameis is at 275. So let's say 20, 25 yards average. Let's just say 22, 25, somewhere up in there. These are all averages, by the way. He's been sacked one time more than Peyton per game at 2.4. Peyton has been sacked 1.4. Rushing, we can't get into that. They're both immobile. They're not running quarterbacks. So Jameis has 21 completions per game at 35 attempts. Peyton Manning has the same at 21 completions, 35 attempts. The comparisons are they're right there. They're neck and neck. But here's where we start to separate. By 2002, Peyton Manning had already been to 3 playoff games. Jameis Winston has not been to a playoff game. He has not been close to a playoff game. By season 2, Peyton Manning had already put up an MVP caliber season. In 1998, Peyton Manning's record with the Colts was 3-13. They did a total 180 the next year. In 1999, the Colts record was 13-3. They lost in the playoffs, but we can see right now that Peyton is improving. The team around Peyton is improving. Jameis Winston, first year in the league, the Buccaneers went 6-10. His next season in the league, they was 9-7. He got 3 more wins. Yes, he did. He had 3 more wins. 2017, though, they regressed into a 5-11 football team. 2018, they stayed status quo. Another 5-11 football team. And at the time that this article had been written, the Buccaneers sat at 6-7 in 2019. By the same token, let's go up to Peyton. Peyton, rookie season, like I said, was 3-13. His next season, they were 13-3. Year 2000, they were 10-6. 2001, they regressed to 6-10. But 2002, they come back and they do a 180 and they get 10 wins, 6 losses. So as we can see, the team is up and down. Not necessarily up and down. You have 2 losing seasons out of 5. Jameis has all 5 losing seasons. Let's dive into the offensive points per game for Jameis and Peyton's first 5 years. We got to go deep into the numbers to see that the intangibles are what set apart Peyton and Jameis. It's not the arm. It's the intangibles. It's what you don't see. It's the mental fortitude that separates the two and what it takes to be a great quarterback in the league, not just physical play. So let's dive into these offensive numbers. Offensive points per game in 1998 for the Indianapolis Colts, they were 19th in the league. Offensive yardage, they were 12th in the league. Offensive rushing yards, they were 26th in the league. Offensive passing yards, they were 6th. By the same token, their defense was horrible. They were 29th in points given up, and they were 29th in defensive yardage. As we can see, Peyton Manning's rookie year, the Colts were terrible on defense. The next season, when they went 13-3, the offensive points for the league, they were ranked 3rd. Offensive yardage, they were ranked 4th. 19th in offensive rushing yards, 4th in passing yards, 17th in defensive points, 15th in defensive yardage. As we can see, the team improved on defense. They were average by this point. There's 32 teams in the league. They are in the middle. They're average. 10-6, they were 4th in offensive points, 3 in offensive yards, 16th in offensive rushing yards, 2nd in offensive passing yards, 15th in defensive points, 21st in defensive yardage. We see they are still average. And that is with a 10-6 team. Here is where we see that Peyton is still climbing, but the Colts on defense are not any good. They've gotten worse. The Colts in 2001 went 6-10. Offensively, they ranked second in points, second in yardage, seventh in offensive rushing yards, second in offensive passing yards. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, you have Marvin Harrison at wide receiver. You have Peyton Manning at quarterback. You have Edgerrin James at running back. The offense is hitting on all cylinders. Defensively, in points, the Colts ranked 31. There's 32 teams in the league. They're at the bottom. They're 31. They are 29th. 29th in defensive yards given up. We see now that when you dive deep into the numbers, it's not Peyton that's making the Colts worse. It's not Peyton that we need to get rid of. It's not Peyton that needs to be ran out of town. It's not Peyton why our team ain't winning in Indianapolis. Let's go to the next season. The Colts go 10-6, and they're ranked 17th in points, 9th in offensive yardage, 26th in offensive rushing yards, 4th in offensive pass yards. The defense has improved tremendously. They are ranked 7th in points and 8th in defensive yards. Do y'all wonder why the Colts offense slid a little bit? They had no running game. Edgerrin James got injured. Let's move on to the Buccaneers, because this is where things really get interesting. They really get interesting. The Bucs in 2015 went 6-10. The offensive points that year with Jameis, they're 20th. Offensive yardage, 5th. Offensive rush yards, 5th. 17th in offensive pass yards, 26th in defensive points, 10th in defensive yards. 2016, you go 9-7. You're 18th in offensive points, 18th in offensive yards, 24th in offensive rush yards, 16th in pass yards, 15th with the defense, and defensive points 15th, 23 with defensive yards. 2017, 5-11, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're 18th in offensive points, 9th in offensive yards, 27th in offensive rush, 4th in offensive pass yards, 22 in defensive points, 32 in defensive yards. 2018, we are 5-11 again. We are ranked 12th in offensive points, 3rd in offensive yards, 29th in offensive rush, 1st in offensive pass, 31st in defensive points, 27 in defensive yards. When this article was printed, the season had not been completed. So 2019, the Buccaneers stand at 6-7. They are 3rd in offensive points. They are 3rd in offensive yardage. They are 24th in offensive rush. They are 2nd in offensive pass. The defense is still atrocious. They are 31 in defensive points and 17th in defensive yardage. Is it all Jameis Winston's fault? No, no team lives and dies by one person. But the majority of the blame, offensively, will be his, because he's the quarterback. And if my quarterback averages 2 interceptions a game, that's 2 less possessions that I have to score. Not, mind you, all the other mistakes that are going to be made, because people are going to fumble the ball. Offensive linemen are going to miss blocks. Receivers are going to run wrong routes. It's going to happen. No one goes into a football game thinking it's going to be perfect. But what I do not expect is my quarterback to willfully turn the ball over. We have to trust our eyes. We have to. For all my Saints fans out there, I need you to start trusting your eyes. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. But my Saints fans out there, I really believe some of you are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. What we have to do is start holding the Saints front office accountable for decisions. Not everything they do is a home run. And if anybody would have told me that we would have so many Saints Jameis Winston fans, I would have probably called the loony bin on them. Because there is no way anyone could have convinced me that we would have so many people think this was a great move. The Saints are in win now mode. They are. And from the perspective of if Drew got hurt, would Jameis be able to step in and continue our Super Bowl run? You know, and I know that that is not factual. That is not anywhere close to being real. There's a section in the library that is called fiction. The book, Jameis Winston Saves the New Orleans Saints Season, is in it. You guys have to start looking at what the front office does and start calling it by what it is. Don't get me wrong. The front office has made some good moves. Some, not all. Some, not all. Emmanuel Sanders, great move. Finally drafting a linebacker in the draft, great move. I'm just at a point where I have given up faith that people keep it real anymore. I'm just at that point right now with Saints fans. Do we even keep it real? Do we lie to ourselves? Because what I see right now is a whole bunch of Sean's going to fix it. He's going to have a better coaching staff. He didn't have the talent around him. We all know that's not true. I will bet dollars to donuts if someone can tell me the quarterback Sean Payton made, not worked with, made. Drew Brees? No. Drew Brees got it together when San Diego Chargers drafted Phillip Rivers. He was already improving. Tony Romo? Maybe. But I'm going to rebuttal that Tony Romo continued to improve without Sean Payton. Kerry Collins? No. It just does not exist. I am flabbergasted by this. Where were these Jameis Winston fans when he was eating a W in pregame? Where was these Jameis Winston fans? Where were all these? Jameis has all the potential in the world arguments. Where were these Tampa Bay is doing Jameis wrong arguments? They didn't exist. Jameis was a joke. I just would really like anybody to just call it what it is. Start to be real. To thine own self be true. You can lie to everybody else, but don't lie to yourself. And the Saints is not paying any one of us for propaganda. Thanks for joining us today on this episode of the Saints and their free agent signing of Jameis Winston. Everything is not doom and gloom, but at the same time, we just have to keep it real with ourselves, and only the future will tell if Jameis is going to improve mentally, because the physicals are there. I'm not going to deny that. The physicals are there. He can throw it. He can spin it. He's gotten his eyes fixed. Let's see if he can put it all together mentally.